So you keep hearing about agentic AI being the next wave of innovation, but where can you actually use them in your business today? In today's episode, we'll talk about building your first AI agent. Hey, welcome to What's the Buzz, where leaders and hands-on experts share how they have turned hype into outcome. Today, we'll talk about how you can build your first AI agents, and who better to talk about it than someone who's actively working on that with a lot of customers in Europe. Eduardo Ordax. Hey, Eduardo, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks so much for inviting me today. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. Hey, Eduardo, I've been seeing a lot of you on LinkedIn over the last 1 or 2 years. I see you're picking up a lot of good momentum. So I'm super excited that you're spending this time, not just with me, but with the audience as well. But for those of you who don't know you, maybe you can introduce yourself real quick and tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Eduardo. I'm living right now in Spain, out of Madrid. I'm working as a Generative AI Lead for AWS, managing EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And that means essentially, how we can help our customers to leverage all the potential of generative AI, but also, AI as well. This is what I'm doing. I'm having so much fun. I'm having so much work during the last few months. And yeah, that's me.
Wonderful. Again, thank you so much for being with us today. Folks, if you're just joining the stream, drop a comment in the chat where you're joining us from. I'm always curious how global our audience is. And also don't forget to pick up your copy of the AI Leadership Handbook so you can learn how you can turn technology hype into business outcomes. Now, with that out of the way, Eduardo, should we play a little game to kick things off?
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
Wonderful. All right. So this one's called In Your Own Words. And when I hit the buzzer, you'll see the wheels spinning. And when they stop, you'll see a word. And I would love for you to answer with the first thing that comes to mind and why, in your own words. And to make it even more interesting, you'll only have 60 seconds for your answer. So are you ready?
I'll try. I'll do my best.
Good. So here we go. If AI were a vehicle, what would it be? 60 seconds on the clock.
Wow, that was super easy. I will say it will be a Cybertruck.
Okay, why?
I don't know, first time I saw it, it was like, like something that it was coming from the future, right? And many of the things that we are seeing right now related to artificial intelligence, it seems like we are, experiencing some stuff that, it really comes from the future. Probably, 2 or 3 years ago, we could not even imagine all the capabilities the large language models, but also any other foundation model has today. And I think it's the first time where we really believe, all the things that they're going to come in the next, 5 to 10 years, they're going to be being, more impactful for all of us. That's why, I see the Cybertruck and I imagine, a remote world in the future, maybe on Mars, I don't know. And I'm thinking of, this kind of artificial intelligence, AI, whatever. So it's as simple as that. It reminds me the Cybertruck.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm curious what you think in the audience, what comes to mind. Now, there are many ways that we can think about the future and the futuristic technology. Some of them are already here, like the Cybertruck that is on the roads in the US. In many ways, I also see the parallels to AI and AI agents. Certainly, right, it's the big hype topic of this year. I think there's still a lot of more momentum that this technology will gain, and vendors that keep pushing the technology. But I'm curious, in your work with customers, what do you see? What departments are exploring AI agents at the moment?
Well, in my opinion, it's like even more than departments. Well, they are all the customers in general, right? But even if you are asking me, which kind of customers they are, more willing to start, exploring and start implementing agents, these are probably the ones who have started as well in the very early days with AI and also with generative AI. And, like all the customers from, like very high regulated industries like FSI, financial service industries, insurance, healthcare, life science, because they have invest, a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of resources in terms of, like also in terms of, like teams and people. They have, like gained this kind of, like competitive advantage in regards to work with artificial intelligence, right? So because they really know how they have structured the data, their systems, and most of them, they are already, like moved into the cloud, because at the end of the day, like if you want to use AI, it's much better when you're in the cloud, right? So probably these customers are the ones that I'm seeing that it's been much easier for them to start implementing agents, and for many different use cases, right? But most of them, the most typical use case right now, it's to automate internal processes. Because at the end of the day, you have a control over this kind of workflows, right? Because there is a lot of hype around agents. And sometimes an agent, it's nothing else than a cool workflow, right? I used to call it like a cool workflow, because most of the times it's just an LLM who is like making different API calls, or even doing this kind of like a self-reflection. But it's like that. I mean, like internal processes, because the thing that you can do with internal processes is you can automate, like things that is taking a lot of time, it's taking a lot of, like manual steps, and you are going to be more efficient, and you are going to get a lot of, like saving on cost. Of course, there are kind of, like customer facing for, like customer support, where you can, I don't know, you can implement a chatbot where you are not expecting only to provide information to your end customers, but also to take actions at the end, right? Like, hey, I want to book a room for next week in Toronto in a hotel for 4 people. You are expecting this chatbot not only to give me information about the room, but also to make the call to the system where I can book the room. I can give you the special offers. So I need to connect to a different database. I can retrieve the data and I can send it to you. But right now, at least what I'm seeing in Europe right now, it's mainly for internal processes like, hey, how can I automate the process to book the holidays? Or how can I automate the process to request a specific service? Or how can I automate the process to open an internal ticket to submit any thing, whatever, right? So this is what I'm seeing the most right now here.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I think that's really good perspective to also see where are companies looking at these things right now. And it seems that it's similar to AI, machine learning, RPA in those previous hypes, right? Look for something where, like you said, it's your internal process. You know how it works. You ideally have it documented. There are ways to make it more efficient, faster, and all the like. Now, that brings me to my next question that I've been thinking about, and that's, does it really matter what's your first agent that you build? And are there specific departments, right? Is it mainly the IT department that again looks to tease out the last 20% of, hey, can you reset my password? Or I forgot where my nearest printer is, or I have some other standard problem. Is it IT departments that are looking at this first, or do you see business, finance, procurement?
I'm seeing a lot of IT departments, especially we're managing the life cycle of different tickets, different claims, and so on. But also like the business, sales, marketing departments, like how you can automate the relationship with the customer. They are like super interested on this, because as I said, like like when we started to talk about generative AI, probably the like top use case was about like implementing chatbots, right, to automate the relationship with the customer. But right now I'm seeing all these departments like, hey, I want to take one step further, not only to provide information to my customers, but ultimately to take actions, right? But also something that I'm seeing a lot is, as part of RAG use cases, retrieval augmented generation, like one of the challenges with RAG is like, as soon as you increment or as soon as you scale the number of documents that you want to query, the different techniques become so challenging, right? Because it's not easy to find exactly place where to find the exactly answer to your query, right? So we are seeing this kind of, like agentic RAG, where essentially it's again the same thing. It's like, okay, we are taking different approaches, like, I don't know, hybrid search, query rewriting, re-ranker, implemented through agents, right? So this is very effective because I can, initiate different journeys just to make sure that I'm going to retrieve, the most important part, or the most important chunk for my previous question. So Agentic RAG is also one of the top use cases that probably I'm seeing right now, not because of agents, but because of RAG. That it's probably one of the things that most of the customers they are implementing. That is nothing else than knowledge search, right?
Right. I think you mentioned a good point about RAG documents, different approaches to RAG, and we see so many schematics of agents and their components in our LinkedIn feed, in news feeds, day in, day out, right, from planning to memory, core modules, everything else. What are the key technology components that you actually need if you want to build an agent or use an agent?
Well, at the end of the day, an agent, it's nothing else than an LLM doing some kind of action, right? So if we look into an LLM, the most simple part, let's say I'm going to ask something to the LLM and it's going to give me an answer, right? So an agent is like, okay, I'm trying to take one step more, right? So I can do this kind of, specific planning, like, okay, if I'm asking you to write a document, I'm not going to write the document in one shot, but I'm going to say like, okay, I need to analyze what I need to do, right? This kind of self-reflection. So first of all, I'm going to come up with different answers. I'm going to analyze if my answers that are good or not. So it's like the model, it's asking itself like, okay, how good, how bad this is going to be. And I'm going to make a plan, right? Okay, I'm going to do first this, second this, then this. But also you can use external tools, right? Like, so it's an LLM, as I said, like, okay, you can start a specific action. So your LLM, because they have all of these LLMs, most of them, they have what they call this function calling or tool use. That is nothing else that, hey, me as an LLM, I can make an API call to an external system and I can retrieve this information. So if I'm asking you for some information that I don't know, I can say like, okay, let's go through this website. I'm going to find the answer and I'm going to augment the answer that I'm going to provide with this information, right? So this is the part of the agents that you need. Is like the LLM where you can, this kind of, a self-reflection where you can analyze. So it's pretty much like us, right? Like if I'm asking you to write something, you are not going to do it in one shot. Maybe you will write a document, you will do a draft, and even before a draft, you are going to start, planning like, okay, this is the schema of my document. Okay, this is the schema of my document. I start a first draft, and you're going to say like, okay, I'm going to review my draft. I will review it, and I will say it's good, it's bad. If it's not good enough, okay, I'm going to take another review, right? So these are just LLMs. It's not like responding at the first time, but doing this kind of self-reflection, analysis, planning, and at the end, even if I need it, I can make different calls to different tools. And if we take even one step more, sorry, this is pretty much like us, right? Like we are not an experts on everything, right? So at the end of the day, we will have like many agents working together, right? So it's not only one agent to do all different steps, but it's like, okay, I'm going to put working different agents on different tasks. So you may have an agent that is going to be an expert on finding information in the website. This other agent is going to be the expert trying to orchestrate all the others. Another expert is going to be the one who is going to book your travel to Toronto. So you will have many different agents, but the thing is like, okay, I need even to orchestrate those agents, right? That it's called this meta agents, multi-agent collaboration. There are like many different names, but I will say these are the four main aspects, like self-reflection, planning, tool use or function calling, and collaboration across agents.
Now we've been talking in the tech industry for a long time about microservices, right? Have individual capabilities compartmentalized so you can again call them or string them together. That definitely sounds a lot like that, and even on a more granular level, right? But I'm curious too, for someone who might be new to this topic. If you hear all about agents in the news, do I have to build all of this myself? Do I have to either be a developer, or do I need a team of developers? Are there some things where I should put or use things off the shelf? what's your recommendation between maybe off the shelf and building this yourself? When does it make sense to build it?
Yeah, I think at the end it depends, right? There are many different approaches and there are many different flavors, right? If you have something that is super specific, that is like, hey, I want to do this, that it's going to be A, B, and C, you have already like many different agents that they are going to integrate with your ERP, your different systems, and you don't need to create it from scratch, right? Like, hey, you can use the agents from Salesforce, or you can use the agents for create a virtual assistant, or you can create a customer support agents. There are like many different companies that they are creating these agents, and they're like removing all this heavy lifting about how to manage the agents, how to manage the resources, how to query different databases. So if you don't have the expertise, if you don't have the skills, maybe it's better to go through this approach, right? But even there are like other different flavors, right? With AWS, you have agents on Bedrock. So it's still, you can customize which kind of agents you are going to build, right? You can say, like, okay, I want to build these specific agents for customer support. You are going to have access to all these different systems. But again, it's going to be a managed service. It's much easier to implement. You can give some instructions. You can build different workflows. So even, like the entry barrier is going to be very low, right? But even let's say you have, like very specific requirements. You want to create everything from scratch. You have frameworks like, I don't know, LangGraph, right? So with LangGraph, you can create everything from scratch. Probably the most complicated part is like the level of abstraction is so high, and the entry barrier is high as well, right? So it's not probably, like the best way to go for everyone in the business unless you have like enough experience, right? So you have different approaches based on your skills, based on your capabilities. Like if you build just, like this kind of vertical agents, like, okay, sales agents or HR agents, entry barrier very low, but the capabilities or the, like possibilities to customize these agents, they're not so high, right? Because it's, like very specific. You have something in between, like, like using agents on Bedrock, where, like, you have many things to customize. Well, essentially, you can customize almost everything, but still, you build on top of a framework that it's already defined and it's there. And then you can build everything from scratch, but you need to manage your agents, you need to manage your resources, you need to do this level of abstraction. So again, it depends. It depends on the customer. I've seen all different aspects, and I think it's not different from, like a normal software. I mean, like, probably you are going to use SAP, so don't build it from scratch. But if you need to do something very specific, you will have to do it, right? So it's not different from traditional software, to be honest.
That makes a lot of sense, and I think that's good reassurance, right? Look at what your standard vendor has already put out there. If you need something else or more than that, or highly customized to your not just industry but business, to build it on top of a platform. Now, I'm curious, in your work, how far advanced do you see companies be on this journey? Are they just scratching the surface and trying to figure out what are these agents? Are they any good? Where can we use them? Or do you already see leaders think about, well, how do we make sure that they act in the same way? Maybe that they use the same tone, the same style, how they respond, that they are grounded in the same documents, maybe not just the information, not just the business documents, but a code of conduct or values, or say if they're a finance agent, that they're grounded in IFRS accounting standards. How far along is that thinking there from what you're seeing?
So I think I've seen a shift over the last few months, right? Of course, Europe, it's different from the US. In the US, they're like much more advanced right now, right? But what I've seen during the last probably like 12 months back, it was mainly about experimentation. Even they were trying to build some, like a POC that it was going into production, but it was like, hey, we are implementing agents, but the scope of these agents, it was super limited, right? So it was like agents working in production, but with a very limited scope. Let's say like, if I want to implement an HR agent to book your holidays or whatever, it was exposed only to, like a reduced number of employees, for example, right?
Sure.
What I'm seeing right now is like, this is starting to change. So it's not only, like to expose these agents to this kind of control group, but trying to expose it to everyone, right? So of course, here the main challenge is about the outcomes, it's about the cost. But right now I'm seeing the customers trying to move more, like to this use of agents. Well, it's in general, right? It's agents and it's AI at the scale, because what I think is like, to be honest, at the end of the day, everything is going to be around agents. But because, like, if we think about generative AI, just about, like LLMs, I think it's useless, right? I mean, like, let me explain, right? It's not like it's useless, but we as humans, we are expecting not only, like to provide or to receive information, but at the end of the day, it's about accomplish a specific task, right? And this is what we are getting from by using agents. That's why I'm saying like LLMs, they are useless, because at the end of the day, all these companies, they are expecting to automate processes, right? So it's not like, hey, I'm expecting to know which is the HR policy for vacation, but ultimately to book my holidays on the tool through agents, right? So what I'm seeing right now, it's more and more customers that are implementing agents at the scale. Of course, it depends on the industry. Digital native customers, startups, like customers that they don't have a legacy, an IT legacy, for them it's much easier, right? It's more natural, because even they don't have the problem about the data, they usually have already the data lake, everything is integrated and so on. But also customers from high regulated industries, FSI, insurance, healthcare, life science, they are already implementing agents for many different, like use cases, like, I don't know, research discovery, that it could be like super complicated. You can use agents to do that, right? So I think within the next 12 months, we are going to see an explosion of like people consuming these services. And I think that's good, because this is the life cycle, or this is the flywheel that we really need, because as soon as we have more people consuming these services, we will get much better models, much more capable models, because at the end of the day, you need to train these models, you need a lot of, like money, right? So all these companies like OpenAI and Anthropic, they need to be profitable. They need to make a business with that. So as soon as we see more people, like using these systems at the scale, we will see a clear improvement of these LLMs and foundation models as well.
I like how practical you make that, and how you share what you're seeing. I think it's great to see companies experimenting with this, but also looking at what are the next things that we should be doing. And connecting what you said with our earlier point of, use what your out-of-the-box vendors offer, combine it with something that's more customized on your platform, build it there. I'm just wondering, with scaling the number of agents, and even if they're for many very specialized tasks, you put them together in a collaborative workflow, in a collaborative setting, how do they communicate? I mean, how do we make sure that they communicate well, that they exchange the right information, that they expect the right input, give you back the right output? We've established protocols, right? Things like TCP/IP, HTTP, things like that in the past that handle that communication. Do you think we'll see something like that to ensure interoperability going forward as well? Do we need that?
Yeah, you made the $1 million question, right? Like, hey, how these models they are going, or how these agents they are going to communicate. I still find people that they believe that they are kind of, like autonomous, super intelligent systems, that they will know how to, like communicate across many others to accomplish tasks, right? And we are not there yet. I mean, like, these agents, they are not people, right? But what we can do is like, we can organize these agents pretty much like us, right? Where we can have different kind of organizations. We can have like this kind of like master agent that is going to do like many different things, but we can have like hierarchical agents where we can define, okay, this is going to be the master, right? And these are going to be their employees. So I can assign different tasks for different agents. So I just need to make sure that I establish kind of a protocol or relationship between these agents. This is much easier, right? Because it's like, okay, one single agent connecting through many different, right? But it's only, like one-to-one connection across, like all these agents, and you have control. But there is only one kind of connection, right? Or one kind of protocol. But you may have as well like higher levels of, like hierarchies. Like you may have one agent, then you have different departments, and within the different departments, you're going to have like a specialist agent. So you are including, or you are adding one layer more of complexity. But even you can have peer-to-peer agents where we can work as a team, but there is not like one single agent that is going to act as a planner, but we can work all together at the same time, right? So to do that, there is a manner to do that, right? Like even you can implement that, as I said before, like by using, like a land graph, but you need to define first this kind of relationships, and you need to be very clear on the instructions, like every single agent they are going to accomplish, and also the parameters and the different, like variables that they are going to use between others. And as I said, we think, like Amazon Bedrock, we recently announced during re:Invent this kind of, like multi-collaboration agent, where you can define these relationships very easily, where you can say like, okay, this is going to be my, like a master agent, and it's going to communicate with A, B, and C. It's going to send all these different parameters. It's going to expect all these different answers. I'm going to allow them to call these different systems. So, I mean, like we are doing all these different, like heavy lifting behind the scenes, but for you, it's going to be much easier, right? But again, you need to define the relationships between the agents. Otherwise, I mean, like you can expect something that you won't like it. I mean, like if you just leave them to their own. That's why, yeah, it's super important. And maybe in the near future, we will see something more closer to, like autonomous agents where they can, like interact and so on. But for sure, we are not there yet.
Okay, sounds like it's a journey, but many have already embarked on it. Now, we're getting close to the end of the show, and Eduardo, I was wondering if you can summarize the key 3 takeaways for our audience today.
I think, first of all, right, I will say about trying to remove all the hype about agents. Try to see what is the value, right? And the value of an agent, it could be as simple as, hey, I just need to build a simple workflow that is going to do A, B, and C. That could be an agent. So don't worry too much about all this cap, autonomous agents, and so on. Let's try to start by the basics. My recommendation is to start also, like with tools that are going to allow you to move faster. I mean, like probably at some point of time, you will be in a situation where you can build everything from scratch, right? But at the beginning, it's about, like trying, testing, experiment, fail, and then, like try it again. So my recommendation is to start with tools that are going to reduce this time to market. And I think, like tools like Bedrock or even vertical agents, it's going to help you a lot on the process, right? Probably what I would say, the third element is to be very clear on, like identify those processes where you are going to get a lot of value, right? I mean, like agents can be super powerful, but it's not about overcomplicated stuff, right? I mean, like it's about trying to identify those processes that right now it seems like super manual, where you are, like losing a lot of money, like, hey, I need to do this every single day, or I'm not even able to automate it, whatever. So trying to identify all these, like different parts of your processes that they are lacking, a lot of automation, and trying to see how, like it will be by using agents and so on. So that will be my 3 takeaways. Try to, like remove all the hype on agents. Sometimes it's, just pure workflows. Second, start by experimenting a lot and try to reduce the time to market. Use platforms that are going to allow you to move faster. And third, again, it's all about, like finding the value, right, where you're going to implement it. So try to identify the steps of your processes that right now, like don't look pretty well, and try to automate it by using agents.
No, that sounds like really, really sound advice. And I know it's grounded in the experience that you have and that you see every day working with customers in Europe. So Eduardo, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your experience with us today.
Thanks a lot, Andreas, for inviting me today.
Wonderful. So folks in the audience, see you next time for another episode of What's the Buzz. Bye-bye.